really a reason for an investigation? Because, you know, a lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, wait a second. We know President Trump does not like Jay Powell, and we know that he's calling him stupid and that he hasn't cut rates fast enough. So is this political, or did Jay Powell break the law?
This is absolutely devastating. Donald Trump is having an awful Monday morning as his effort to launch a criminal investigation into the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who he appointed, is backfiring spectacularly in his face. We're now hearing from Republican senators who are demanding an investigation not into Powell but into Trump's DOJ for its weaponization. Republicans demanding a criminal investigation into the DOJ for criminally investigating Jerome Powell. Let that sink in. Trump tried to weaponize the Justice Department against the Fed chairman, and now his own party is turning against him, demanding investigations into Trump's abuse of power. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built National Brief Network to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe, because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into what's actually happening. Republican Senator Thom Tillis is saying that an investigation is needed into the Department of Justice, that its independence and credibility are in question, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. Tillis is holding up Donald Trump's nominees, not just in the Department of Homeland Security because Kristi Noem refuses to show up before Congress, but also now he's saying he will put a hold on anyone Donald Trump wants to appoint to the Fed, whether it's the Fed chair vacancy or any other Fed position. And he's on the banking committee in the Senate. He says until this matter is legally resolved, nobody gets confirmed. That's Thom Tillis, a Republican, blocking Trump's nominees because Trump is abusing his power. Now let me walk you through why this is so devastating. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski just put out a statement that absolutely destroys Trump's justification for this investigation. After speaking with Chair Powell this morning, it's clear the administration's investigation is nothing more than an attempt at coercion. If the Department of Justice believes an investigation into Chair Powell is warranted based on project cost overruns, which are not unusual, then Congress needs to investigate the Department of Justice. The stakes are too high to look the other way. If the Federal Reserve loses its independence, the stability of our markets and the broader economy will suffer. My colleague Senator Tillis is right in blocking any Federal Reserve nominee until this is resolved. Think about what that means. Murkowski called Trump's investigation an attempt at coercion, not a legitimate inquiry. Coercion. That's a Republican senator saying Trump is trying to intimidate the Fed chairman into doing what Trump wants. That's a Republican senator saying if DOJ thinks this investigation is legitimate, then Congress should investigate DOJ instead. That's Republicans turning on Trump, defending Powell, blocking Trump's nominees, protecting the independence of the Federal Reserve from Trump's authoritarian impulses. Share this video with everyone you know because former Fed chairs and Treasury secretaries put out an unprecedented statement defending Jerome Powell. And this isn't just Democrats. This is Ben Bernanke, who served 2 terms as Fed chair, Alan Greenspan, Henry Paulson, who was Bush's Treasury Secretary, Timothy Geithner, who served under Obama, Republican and Democratic leaders in this area all signing on to one statement. Here's what they said. The Federal Reserve's independence and the public's perception of that independence are critical for economic performance, including achieving the goals Congress has set for the Federal Reserve of stable prices, maximum employment, and moderate long-term interest rates. The reported criminal inquiry into Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell is an unprecedented attempt to use prosecutorial attacks to undermine that independence. This is how monetary policy is made in emerging markets, with weak institutions with highly negative consequences for inflation and the functioning of their economies more broadly. It has no place in the United States, whose greatest strength is the rule of law, which is at the foundation of our economic success. Read that again. This is how monetary policy is made in emerging markets with weak institutions. They're saying Trump is turning America into a third world country, where dictators use criminal investigations to control central banks, where the rule of law doesn't matter, where institutions exist to serve the leader, not the people. That's what former Fed chairs and Treasury secretaries are saying about Trump's abuse of power. That's unprecedented. That's Republicans and Democrats united in saying Trump has gone too far. Make sure you're subscribed to National Brief Network, because what are MAGA Republicans saying to defend Trump? Well, MAGA Republican Senator Roger Marshall says, "I don't think Donald Trump was being serious about this criminal investigation into Powell this morning." Roger Marshall says, "I just think this is the way Donald Trump trolls. It's like a trolling thing. You know, he's a troll, and so he's trolling by demanding that the DOJ launch a criminal investigation into Powell. And the DOJ has now opened up a grand jury criminal investigation into Powell. Trolling. That's the defense. Trump was just trolling when he ordered a criminal investigation into the Fed chairman, just joking around, just having fun. Never mind that the DOJ actually opened a grand jury investigation. Never mind that this threatens the independence of the Federal Reserve. Never mind that it could destabilize markets and the economy. Trump was just trolling. That's what passes for a defense in MAGA world. And even Marshall knows how ridiculous it sounds. Because he's essentially admitting Trump abuses the Justice Department for fun, uses criminal investigations as jokes, weaponizes federal law enforcement because he's a troll. That's not a defense. That's an admission of abuse of power. Then you have Kevin Hassett, Donald Trump's national economic advisor, who many believe Trump wants to appoint as chair of the Federal Reserve. This guy's appointment would be disastrous. He's been wrong about everything his entire career. And he goes, well, if someone launched a criminal investigation of me, I wouldn't be worried. I would just say, okay, here are the documents, I have nothing to hide. So why is everybody worried that he's doing a criminal investigation into the chairman of the Federal Reserve? Notice what Hassett is doing. He's normalizing the abuse, saying it's totally fine for the president to order criminal investigations into people who disagree with him, saying if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't worry about being investigated. That's authoritarian logic. That's how dictators justify targeting their enemies. That's saying the president can weaponize law enforcement and you should just accept it. And Hassett saying this tells you exactly what kind of Fed chairman he would be. Someone who thinks the Fed should serve the president. Someone who doesn't value independence. Someone who would turn the Federal Reserve into Trump's personal economic tool. Then Trump's other top economic guy, Peter Navarro, who's even worse than Kevin Hassett if that's possible, says, spare me this Fed independence stuff. That's politicized body. He's the worst chairman since Arthur Burns. Let's get to the bottom of this. So Navarro is openly saying the Fed shouldn't be independent, that it's a politicized body that should serve Trump, that investigating Powell is justified. That's Trump's economic team. That's the people advising Trump on Fed appointments. That's who would control monetary policy if Trump gets his way. People who don't believe in Fed independence, who think Trump should control interest rates, who would turn the Fed into a political weapon. And while all this is happening, Trump's been on a rampage all morning making deranged posts, posting that he saved NATO, while he's threatening to invade Greenland, while NATO nations are potentially putting forces in Greenland to protect against a United States invasion. While Trump has done more to break up the NATO alliance than any president in history. Trump is saying he saved NATO. Then Trump posts that he's now the acting president of Venezuela. The acting president of Venezuela. Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar said Trump is posting about being the acting president of Venezuela when he's not even acting like a president at home. Think about how insane that is. Trump claims he's president of Venezuela, posts fake Wikipedia screenshots, acts like he's conquered a foreign country, all while his own party turns against him, all while Republican senators block his nominees, all while former Fed chairs say he's destroying American institutions. Trump thinks posting that he's president of Venezuela makes him look strong, when really it just makes him look detached from reality, makes him look desperate, makes him look like someone who's losing control and trying to distract with grandiose claims. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because I also saw MAGA Republican Congress members and senators on the morning shows trying to defend Trump's ICE Gestapo killing of Renee Nicole Good and the atrocities being committed by Trump's ICE and Border Patrol paramilitary forces, and now Trump's MAGA defenders have a new disgusting offense. They're going on morning shows saying, you know what really needs to happen? We need accountability and arrests. We need Governor Walz and Mayor Frey of Minneapolis to be arrested because they're the ones causing all of this. It's their fault. They're provoking anger against ICE. Maybe it's the fact that ICE and Border Patrol have been invading communities, arresting people who are just hardworking people trying to get by in this country. Maybe that's what's provoking anger. The Gestapo tactics, the murder of an American citizen, the agents with 47 days of training terrorizing neighborhoods. But MAGA Republicans want to arrest the governor and mayor for criticizing federal agents who murder people. That's where we are. MAGA Congresswoman Sherry Biggs said, do you think it's long past due for these Democrat officials to be charged for clearly inciting violence against our federal agents? Is there something Congress can do to hold these people accountable? So criticizing ICE for murdering an American citizen is inciting violence, but Trump calling for civil war is just trolling. Trump ordering criminal investigations into Fed chairmen is just having fun. Trump's agents shooting unarmed women in the face is justified, but governors and mayors saying that's wrong should be arrested. That's MAGA logic. That's the defense of authoritarianism. That's how you create a system where criticizing the government becomes a crime. Share this video with everyone because Democratic Senator Mark Warner went on CNBC and talked about the lack of training for ICE agents. And here's what he said. Do you realize ICE used to take 5 to 6 months to get trained? They've now lowered the training period to 47 days. Why 47 days? Because Donald Trump's the 47th president. Tell me that's a rational approach. That's not about preparing agents properly. That's about a vanity number. That's about Trump wanting ICE agents with 47 days of training because he's the 47th president. Never mind that these undertrained agents are killing people. Never mind that they don't know how to de-escalate situations. Never mind that they're committing constitutional violations. Trump wants the number 47 attached to everything, including ICE training periods. And Warner also talked about Trump's never-ending wars, about the fact that Trump, without congressional authorization, has engaged in multiple military attacks. We got 20% of the fleet off the coast of Venezuela. The aircraft carrier Gerald Ford that's supposed to be in the Middle East is off the coast of Venezuela. Is that fleet going to stay there for 2 years? What are the costs? Remember the president's promise it's not going to cost us a dime. Venezuelan oil is going to pay for it all. I don't know if that's happening. Remember, wasn't Donald Trump supposed to be the peace guy? We've had American intervention in Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Nigeria, Venezuela, maybe Greenland, where he would blow up NATO. How is this leading to price stability, bringing down costs? And now we got the frontal attack on the independence of the Fed? Notice what Warner is laying out. Trump promised no new wars, promised everything would be paid for by others, promised to bring down costs. But we have military operations in multiple countries, aircraft carriers deployed indefinitely, costs mounting, prices not falling, NATO being destroyed, and now attacks on Fed independence that threaten economic stability. Everything Trump promised has been a lie. Everything he's doing makes things worse, and Democrats are finally calling it out clearly and forcefully. I want to show you Kristi Noem yesterday with Jake Tapper. There was one moment that didn't get enough attention when she was shown the video of that officer Jonathan Ross, the murderer who killed Renee Nicole Good, the ICE agent. After he shoots her in the face 3 times, he curses at her. And when Jake Tapper asks Noem about it, she smirks. She finds this funny. She gets off on this. She finds the murder of an American citizen by ICE to be funny. That smirk, that reaction, that tells you everything about Trump's cabinet, about the people Trump chose to run Homeland Security. Someone who smirks at murder, someone who enjoys violence, someone who thinks dead Americans are amusing if they were killed by Trump's agents. That's who Trump appointed. That's who Republicans confirmed. That's who's running DHS while ICE agents with 47 days of training kill people in the streets. And when confronted with video of the murder, with audio of the agent cursing the woman he just killed, Noem smirks. That's the face of Trump's administration. That's what his cabinet represents. Cruelty, violence, contempt for human life, enjoyment of suffering. That smirk should end Noem's career, should be shown in every campaign ad, should be the image people remember when they think about Trump's Homeland Security. Think about everything that happened today. Republican senators turning against Trump over Fed investigation, Tom Tillis blocking all Trump's nominees, Lisa Murkowski calling it coercion and demanding DOJ be investigated instead. Former Fed chairs and Treasury secretaries issuing unprecedented statements saying Trump is turning America into a third world country. Roger Marshall saying Trump was just trolling when he ordered criminal investigation. Kevin Hassett normalizing abuse of power. Peter Navarro openly rejecting Fed independence. Trump posting that he's president of Venezuela. MAGA Republicans calling for arrests of governors who criticize ICE. Mark Warner exposing 47-day training period and never-ending wars. Kristi Noem smirking at murder. That's one day. That's Monday morning for Trump. And it's catastrophic because his own party is abandoning him. Because the defense of his actions is he was just trolling. Because his economic team wants to destroy Fed independence. Because his claims about NATO and Venezuela are delusional. Because his defenders want to arrest people for criticism. Because his cabinet smirks at murder. Everything is falling apart. Everything is being exposed. Everything is backfiring. It shows Trump learned nothing. Because even after everything, he's still trying to abuse power, still trying to intimidate people who won't do what he wants, still using DOJ as a weapon. And this time, his own party said no. This time, Republican senators blocked him. This time, former officials issued statements. This time, the pushback was immediate and bipartisan. That tells you Trump has gone too far even for Republicans. that attacking the Fed chairman crosses a line, that threatening economic stability for personal vendetta is unacceptable. Republicans know this could crash markets, know this could spike inflation, know this destroys American credibility. And they're finally pushing back, not because they suddenly developed principles, but because Trump is threatening their economic interests, threatening their donors, threatening the system that benefits them. When Trump goes after the Fed, he threatens everyone's wealth, and that's where Republicans draw the line. The statements from former Fed chairs comparing this to emerging markets with weak institutions is devastating. Because it's true. Because Trump is acting like a dictator. Because ordering criminal investigations into people who disagree with you is third world behavior. Because attacking central bank independence destabilizes economies. These aren't partisan Democrats saying this. These are people who served under Republican and Democratic presidents. People with credibility. People who understand economics. All saying Trump is destroying American institutions. Share this video with everyone because Tom Tillis blocking nominees is a big deal. Because it means Trump can't staff his administration the way he wants. Can't put yes men in every position. Can't control every agency. Tillis is one senator, but he has power through holds. And he's using that power, saying nobody gets confirmed until DOJ backs off Powell. That's leverage. That's consequences. That's a Republican senator actually checking Trump's power. And Lisa Murkowski calling it coercion is even bigger, because she's naming what Trump is doing, not dancing around it, not being diplomatic. Coercion. That's using threats and pressure to force someone to do what you want. That's what Trump is doing to Powell, trying to intimidate him into lowering rates, trying to force monetary policy decisions through criminal investigation threats. And Murkowski is calling it out, saying if DOJ thinks this is legitimate, investigate DOJ instead. That's Republicans defending institutions. Finally, after years of enabling Trump, after years of making excuses, finally saying this is too far. The fact that MAGA defenders can only say Trump was trolling shows how indefensible his actions are, because there's no legitimate justification, no actual reason to investigate Powell, just Trump being mad about interest rates, just Trump wanting to control the Fed, just Trump abusing power because he can. And when your only defense is he was joking, you've admitted the action was wrong. You've admitted it's indefensible. You've admitted your guy abuses power for fun. Notice what Trump's economic advisors reveal. Hassett saying investigations are fine if you have nothing to hide. Navarro rejecting Fed independence. These are the people who would run economic policy if Trump gets his way. People who don't believe in institutional independence. People who think Trump should control everything. People who would turn every agency into a political weapon. That's what Trump wants. That's what he's building toward. And Republicans are finally realizing it threatens them too. The Venezuela posting shows Trump's detachment from reality, shows he thinks he's conquered a country, shows he believes his own propaganda, shows he's lost in delusion. And Democrats are mocking him for it, saying he's not even acting like a president at home. That cuts because it's true. Trump spends his time posting about being president of foreign countries while his own administration falls apart, while his own party turns against him, while his own nominees get blocked. That's not strength. That's weakness masked with bluster. The MAGA defense of ICE murdering Renee Good shows the moral bankruptcy of Trump's movement, wanting to arrest governors for criticism, blaming victims, justifying murder, smirking at dead Americans. That's who they are. That's what they represent. And it's being exposed. Every defense makes them look worse. Every justification reveals their cruelty. Every attempt to blame others shows their guilt. Mark Warner exposing the 47-day training period because Trump wanted his number attached shows the vanity and incompetence of Trump's decisions. People are dying because ICE agents are undertrained, and they're undertrained because Trump wanted a vanity number. 47 days because he's the 47th president. That's how stupid and cruel Trump's decision-making is. That's how little he cares about human life. That's how much he prioritizes ego over competence. So where does this leave us? Trump having a catastrophic day. Republican senators turning against him over Fed investigation, blocking his nominees, demanding DOJ be investigated instead. Former officials issuing unprecedented warnings. Trump's defenders reduced to saying he was trolling. Trump's economic team revealing authoritarian intentions. Trump posting delusional claims about Venezuela. MAGA Republicans defending murder and calling for arrests of critics. Cabinet members smirking at dead Americans. Everything collapsing, everything backfiring, everything being exposed. This is what accountability looks like. This is what happens when you go too far. This is institutional resistance. This is Republicans finally pushing back. This is consequences. Slow, insufficient, but real. Trump attacked the Fed. His own party said no. Trump tried to weaponize DOJ. His own party demanded investigations into DOJ instead. Trump thought he could do anything. He was wrong. And now he's learning that even Republicans have limits when their own economic interests are threatened. This story continues. Stay tuned.